Good morning, students. I am here to deliver a lecture on one of the famous poems. And before revealing the title itself, I would like to ask you some of the basic questions like, what's your greatest achievement that in your life so far? And what would you like people to remember about you in the future? Let me guess it out. Is it? Or you can make your interpretations on your own. Okay. Let me ask you another question. Do you think that these worldly things are going to live forever for generations to come? Give it a thought, and after you think, let me reveal the topic itself. And the poem that we are going to discuss is Ozymandos by P.B. Shelley. Ozymandos by P.B. Shelley. Do you already know about the poet? Do you? Okay, let me give you something about the poet himself. P.B. Shelley was born in 1792, okay, and he died in 1822. Can you talk about the time limit that he must have spent? That is, he lived only for 29 years. And the cause of his death was because he got drowned in Bay of Spezia. Okay? And after this, he has many contributions in this literary world. He is also known for his famous book, The Revolt on Islam. The Revolt of Islam. Okay? And he was an essayist. Essayist, you all must be quite aware of what an essayist is, isn't it? Novelist. Novelist, very well know about it, isn't it? Okay. He was a dramatist. And of course, the poem itself, Ozymandos, is written by P.B. Shelley and naturally talks about him being a poet, isn't it? Okay. Now moving on to the poem itself, that is Ozymandos. This was about P.B. Shelley, and now we'll be talking about Ozymandos. Ozymandos was written in 1817 by P.B. Shelley, and it was actually published in 1818. Means he wrote it in 1817 and it got published in 1818. Okay? And the cause of writing this very poem, that is Ozymandos, was because there was a writing competition. Between one of his friends, that is Horace Smith, and he also had entitled his poem as Ozymandos. That is why he also titled his poem as Ozymandos, and naturally they wrote on Ozymandos, that is titled Ozymandos only. Okay, now talking about the poem, that is Ozymandos. Ozymandos is actually a name of a king whose other name was Rameses. Okay? It's actually E-S, R-A-M-E-S-S-E-S, whose actual name was Rameses. And any guesses? What could it be? He actually was the pharaoh of the 19th dynasty of Egypt. Okay? And in this poem, as I talked, that Ozymandos is the name itself and Rameses is its another name. And this poem, that is Ozymandos, talks about his supremacy. Supremacy as well as arrogance, as well as proudness of him being the ruler, of him being the king of that very place. And naturally, he thought of himself possessing all the powers that he has, possessing the powers that he could rule anyone and oppress anyone. And he used to suppress in such a case that it turned out to be his characteristics of being a cruel, arrogant and proud king. Now this Ozymandos talks about this very boastful, this very arrogant, this very proud king who ruled his place, and naturally after that a statue was erected on his name, that is by the name of Ozymandos. But Ozymandos himself, as you know, that man himself is mortal, and the things around are going to end at some point of time, because everything has got a time. Everything. That means human nature is mortal, as well as the things which have been built by the famous kings, by the famous emperors, are going to decline at some point of time, isn't it? So you must have seen that from this Ozymandos, I give you a quick brief review of what actually the title of the poem suggests. Now based on this, I would like you to go through a silent reading, go for a silent reading of this very poem. Quickly, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go through this poem, and there should be silence and silent reading of this poem. Go it, I'm going to analyze it afterwards. Quickly. Oh, so the 2 minutes have ended, and now have you got a brief idea of what actually this poem comprises of? Okay, 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 okay. So I will go now for the loud reading of this very poem, that is Ozymandos. Please be very attentive and listen to me very carefully. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and snare of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandos, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing besides remains round the decay of all of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away. So now you are acquainted with the wordings of this very poem. Clearly, simply just go for the underlining of the new words that you might have encountered while going through it in silent reading and when I did the loud reading. Quickly. Okay, now let's go for the explanation of the poem. Okay, let me start. I met a traveler from an antique land. That is, there's an encounter between the speaker and the person who has went to this place, to this ancient land, and he is talking, the speaker is talking to this traveler. And what does he say? He says, I met a traveler from an antique land. That is, I met a traveler from an antique. Antique you refer to very old, like a couch in your grandmother's house, isn't it? Okay. Or it can be any place related to history like Greece, Rome, or even Egypt, for that matter. So I met a traveler from an antique land, from a very old place I met a traveler. Who is saying so? It's the words of the speaker. Who said, and what was the traveler's interpretation? who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone." So what had the traveler experienced? He had experienced that two vast, very big, and trunkless. Trunkless means without the upper body. That means only two legs of the statue were there, what he had seen. And who had seen this? It was the traveler, who said two vast and trunkless legs of stone. They were only legs of stone that were there. They were not as the whole body, only two legs of stone. Stand in the desert. Stand in the desert. In this very ancient place, in this very old place, in this antique land, there stood two legs of stone. Stand in the desert, near them on the sand. And what was there near these two legs of stone? It was half sunk, a shattered visage lies. Half sunk means half buried. What was there? Half sunk, a shattered. Shattered means it was not at its exact way it should have been, because naturally it had got demolished, it had got eroded, and it was lying there, with the legs of the stone. Visage lies. Visage means face. So what was lying there with the two legs of the stone was the visage, that is the face. So this face was shattered, and the result could be anything. It could be a natural disaster, it could have been a war, it could have been even a calamity, anything of that sort. And half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and snare of cold command. These are the expressions that the traveler had actually seen on the face of this statue. They were still there, very clearly visible on the face of this very statue. And whose frown and wrinkled lip and snare of cold command. Frown, you very well know, it's an expression, isn't it? But an arrogant expression, not that good, in a very different mood, isn't it? And wrinkled lip and snare of cold command. Snare of cold command. Cold command was, it could be revealed from his eyes that he wouldn't give a good response to the ones. By response, I mean negative response. You have warm-hearted people, you have cold-hearted people who don't greet you well. Same was the case with this statue, that the expression on his face and his eyes revealed about this cold command. Tell that its sculptor well those passions read. And naturally, who sculpts these sculptures? It's the sculptor, isn't it? So sculptor had very well read the passions which came out from the heart of Ozymandos, and he must have been commanded by Ozymandos to erect a wonderful statue, a vast, a big statue, in keeping the living record of his memories to the posterity, to future generations, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things. What these lifeless things are like? It is the two legs of the stone, isn't it? It's even the visage that is lying there, and it's even, you can talk about it, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. The hand that mocked them. We have two explanations of the word mock. M-O-C-K. What does mock mean? You must have heard about this word mock. Mock means to make fun of, isn't it? Fun of. Or it can even mean to copy or to imitate. You're getting what I'm trying to say. It is mock is of two meanings, make fun of and copy or imitate. So here, the hand that mocked them, who had carved this very statue, who had done so? It was the sculptor himself. So it is the hands of the sculptor which had made, which had copied the expressions exactly that were present in Ozymandos, in this king, and they got imprinted, they got stamped on whom? On this very statue. isn't it? So it were the hands that copied the expressions and were there stamped on the face of this very statue. Okay, which yet survives stamped on these lifeless things? The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. Now can you tell me, the hand that mocked them, it is with relation to the sculptor. Hand, sculptor. Okay, because sculptor made it, copied the expression of the actual king and got them stamped on the statue. Now, what could be the heart that fed? Whose heart will it be? Any guesses? Okay, heart. Heart can be both of the king whose statue is drawn, whose statue is sculpted, and it can be even of the sculptor. Why so? Tell me. Naturally, it is that the passions, the expression, the feelings that were there present in the king's heart were stamped on the statue. And with whose dedication and commitment and whose skill was it to give the exact clear expression on the statue? It was the sculptor himself. Yes, so heart is that of a king, that is the passions, and whose passions have been read very accurately by whom? It was the sculptor who read those passions and got them stamped on the lifeless things. Okay. And on the pedestal, these words appear. You know a pedestal? All of you must have seen a statue on the net, on TV, or visually must have experienced any statue. Okay? And at the foot of the statue, what is there? Foot of the statue always has some inscription on it, talking about the birth, death, and even about the contributions that that person makes, isn't it? So, and on the pedestal, we have the word pedestal, isn't it? So, a pedestal is simply the inscribed words on the foot of any statue, on the basement of that very statue. Okay. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandos. Who says so? And who had told the sculptor to write it there? It was the King Ozymandos. My name is Ozymandos, King of Kings. So I am the king, I am the supreme, I am the mightiest of all. I am the king of kings. I am not simply a king. I am even the king of the kings. Look upon my works. Look upon the things that I have created, the monuments that I have built, the empires that I have constructed. Look upon my works, yea, mighty and despair. And they hold such a position, they are of such supremacy in this place today, in this Egypt today. And despair, and despair. See, the word despair has been used there. What could it be? Despair talks about, very right, it is disappointment. Isn't it? So disappointment on whose part? Do you think that this king Ozymandos would at some point of his time have got disappointed? Do you feel so? No. It was only with relation, it's only with relation to the people who will see the works of this mighty emperor, who will realize the fact that why haven't they at all in their life done so very great, and will start pondering about it. Such a great and wonderful monuments and empires being constructed by the man that is Ozymandos. Okay? But there's a twist, there's a change, there's a turning point in these last lines, whereby the poet states that nothing besides remains, that no thing is going to remain forever. Round the decay, in the whole universe, nothing is going to remain. What is going to remain? Of that colossal wreck, of that colossal is the vast, the huge size of the statue, that this even didn't remain. It is lying there shattered, eroded on the sand. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. So what is going to survive in this world is the lone and level stretches of sand. That is only going to remain. Nothing else is going to remain. Neither a human being who is a mortal, neither the statues, the empires, the monuments, the buildings that have been constructed by famous people, nothing is going to remain. Only the boundless and bare truth is that the bare and boundless stretches of sand are going to stretch far away till you can see. That only is going to remain in this world. Other than that, there is nothing at all which is going to survive in this world. Okay, now that we have finished with this explanation of the poem, I want you to go through the silent reading, go for the silent reading of the poem quickly, and so that you can ask questions. In case you have missed out any line, I'm here to reply to that. Please, if anyone is having any problem with any of the words, any of the line, I'm here to answer that. Go quickly through this. Okay. Now that your time has ended, is there anything which needs to be given a quick explanation? Okay, let's move forward. Tell me, from the poem, could you interpret what is it relating to? What is the system, the pattern of the poem? Yes? Now that you have read the poem, now tell me, count the lines. How many lines are there in the poem? Quickly. Yes, very right. They are 14 in number. And what resemblance has it got with any of the poem that you have read earlier? Okay, it is, yes, it is not marble, nor gilded monuments, isn't it? So that implies that it is a sonnet. Is it or not? Now, how can you differentiate different aspects of a sonnet? Tell me quickly. You have read it earlier. You very well know about sonnet. Yes, we have how many quatrains? 3 quatrains. Isn't it? And 1 couplet. Isn't it? We can bifurcate it even in octave and sestet. What octave comprises of how many lines? You very well know. It's 8 lines. And sestet is of course 6 lines. Isn't it? Okay. So this very poem, that is Ozymandos, is a sonnet. Sonnet of 14 lines consisting of an octave and a sestet. Octave consists of 8 lines, sestet consists of 6 lines. And this is actually a Petrarchan sonnet. Fine? Fine. Now based on this, there's question 7 in your text. Go through this question 7 and tell me the rhyme scheme of the octave and the sestet. Quickly. Okay. I'm going to write the words and each one of you is going to tell me what is the rhyme scheme of the poem. I will write the words only, the end words. Land, stone, sand, frown. Then we have command, red, Things. Okay? Things, and then we have fed. Fine? Then next we have a pair. Kings. Despair. Decay. Bear. And away. Count the words, end words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this rhyme scheme you will give for octave. And how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means it's a sestet. And the end words of the sestet, you are going to give me the rhyme scheme. Quickly. Land, does it rhyme with stone or sand? No, it doesn't rhyme with stone, it rhymes with sand. So keep it as A. Does stone rhyme with frown? Keep it as B. Does command rhyme with any of the words? Yes, it rhymes with slant, sand, isn't it? Does red rhyme with any of the words above? No. So keep it as C. So you are following the rhyme scheme. This is the way you have done it. I've already taught you about this. Things, does it rhyme with any of this? So we have A, B, A, B, A, C. Things doesn't rhyme with any of the above words. And this is fed. Fed rhymes with D, end word. So keep it as A. Is it A? Is it? It's with red, fed. It's with C. Sorry for that. It's C. So what can be the rhyme scheme of the octave? It is A, B, A, B, A, C, D, C. So you have the rhyme scheme of the octave, that is this. And then let's do with, now on your own, do the sestet rhyme scheme. What it will be? Yes, E, very nice, E, D, despair, pair, E. It will be as F, bear, despair, a pair, E, despair, decay, away and decay will be F. So what will be the rhyme scheme? It will be E, D, E, F, E, F of the sestet, which is a different rhyme scheme from the earlier sonnet you have read. What was the rhyme scheme there? It was continuous entirely. But P.B. Shelley has made a difference in some of the words that he has used in the poem. And this implies that it is a sonnet and it has 14 lines. Octave, sestet, and octave rhyme scheme is this, sestet it's this. By this your question 7th has been solved out. Okay, now moving on to the poetic devices that have been used. See, from the reading of the poem, you must have very well noted, to make the poem effective, it's very necessary to use the poetic devices, isn't it? So far, you have read many poetic devices, and on the basis of them, try to figure out as many poetic devices as have been used in this very poem. Quickly, yes? First one. So we will be discussing about poetic devices or literary devices used in the poem. First one is very nice. It's alliteration. And what is alliteration? Alliteration is simply the repetition of initial consonant sounds used in a stanza in a line. Okay, what you have in this is, give me the examples. Quickly. Snare of cold command. Where is the alliteration? Where is it? It's C, C, cold command, isn't it? Remains and round. Is it? R, R. We also have lone and level. Where is the alliteration? L and L. Is it? Okay. Do we have any more? Yes, very good. It's sands and stretch. Fine? Okay. Now moving on to another poetic device. First one was alliteration, which is the repetition of initial consonant sounds in a line. Then second one we have, it's synecdoche. What is a synecdoche? Synecdoche is the representation of a part for a whole or whole for a part. For example, the police is corrupt. When you give such example, you state simply as a police, which is as a part and is representing the entire system. So it is a part representing the whole, and it is given the reference of being corrupt. You're getting it? Or in the poem you can have, you have the hand that mocked them, the heart that fed. Now tell me, on the basis of this part being substituted by a whole or whole being substituted by a part, from that what can you infer? That hand is a part of the whole body, and here the representation of hand is giving the exact reference to whole body. So it's a part which talks about the whole, isn't it? And the heart of the body which talks about the entire heart, entire body, because entire body is given the reference to, actually it's the entire one. But here the part has been used to talk about it. You got it? Very nice. Now that you have understood the poem, I hope you have understood it and have went through the exact explanation of each line, each word. Now there will be a favor from your side. In case tomorrow you will be doing it on your own, reading the poem at your home and then coming to, so that we could do further analysis of the poem. And in case you have any questions, any queries related to it, you will ask me. Fine? Thank you so much.